Hello, I'm Sayakat Cosplay and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a really super cute little half apron. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button and bell notification for the next time I put up a new video. So like I said, today I'm going to be showing you how I patterned and make a little half apron. I have actually gone ahead and made a digital pattern file and instructions and graded this pattern to sizes extra small through extra large, which is available on my online store, and the link for that is down below, so you're not going to have to make your own pattern like I did. So I am showing part of the patterning process here and how I made the pattern for this, but because I already made the digital version, you don't have to do this. This is just me showing you part of the creation process of this lovely little apron. What you will need to follow along with this tutorial video is about 3/4 of a yard of fabric. In this case, I'm using white cotton. You're going to need thread at a matching color, and of course, sewing machine, needles, pins, an iron and an ironing board, scissors, and any other sewing accessories you feel like using for this particular project. A quick note on trims for this project. You can use any really super cute trim you want to go around the edge of the apron. You can trim it in anything you want. In this case, I am trimming it with a self-made trim made out of the same fabric that I'm making the apron out of. You can choose to use pre-made trim, or you can choose to make your own trim. It's up to you. And what I'm going to be showing you today is how to make your own trim to go around the edge. And the instructions cover the differences and how to make the trim and the differences in the sizing of the length of trim that you're going to need. Both the trim and the waistband are a 3-inch wide fabric strip. The digital pattern has a pattern piece for the waistband, which can also be used as a pattern guide for the trim. The length of the trim is going to depend on how big the pattern is that you're using. If you're using small, large, the length of the trim is going to be different, and those lengths are noted in the digital instructions. Again, that's linked in the description box down below. So there is a pattern piece for the waistband, and for the trim, I did not make one. That's just me doing this on the fly. First step of everything is cutting out your fabric. So you're going to need 2 waistbands, 1 trim, and 1 apron. I call it the body. This is the big piece of the apron. The first step in this process is to create the trim. If you're using pre-made trim, you can skip this. But the first step in the process is to iron down about 1/4 inch on one of the long edges of the trim piece. I had to seam together some of these strips to get to a trim piece that was long enough. You may have to do this yourself as well. So if you have to seam together some of the bands, that's okay, that happens, especially if the fabric, like the fabric that I'm using, is only 44 inches wide. So iron down that side and then straight stitch that edge down. So basically you're creating a rolled hem. I don't have a rolled hem foot, so I'm gonna iron down 1/4 inch on one of the long edges, straight stitch that down, iron that over again another 1/4 inch in, so in total you have ironed in about 1/2 inch, and then straight stitch that rolled edge down so you have a nice clean edge. Once that edge is finished, along the long edge that is raw, you're gonna baste about 1/4 inch from the edge all along that long raw edge. This basting stitch is going to allow you to create gathers. So instead of having to pleat this thing, which would take forever, you're just going to gather the long edge of the unfinished side together. So you're gonna pull that basting stitch and basically half the length of the strip. So you're going to take it from In my case, it was 64 inches long down to 32. Distribute those gathers evenly across the length of the 32 inches, and then about 3/8 of an inch from the raw edge, you're going to again straight stitch those gathers into place. The basting stitch is not going to hold them in place, so you need to stitch them down so that they stay in the right place. After you have stitched down your gathers, you're going to face the right sides of the apron body and the trim together and pin the trim all along the outer edge of the apron. And then you stitch that down so that you now have your trim stitched to the apron. Make sure that you use about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to want to finish the edge of this seam because it's going to be left raw. You can serge this, you can zigzag stitch this. In my case, I used pinking shears to prevent any fraying from happening once this seam was turned in. So once you finished off that seam, you're going to turn it in towards the apron body. I didn't press it down. You probably should press it down. And then top stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the apron body so that the seam stays pressed in, it won't turn out, and that also helps the trim to lay nice and flat. Alright, now you have your trim attached to the apron. You're going to want to gather the top of the apron. So you're going to again baste about 1/4 inch from the raw edge of the top of the apron. You don't want to baste through the trim. You want to leave that free. You're not going to gather the trim. And again, you're going to pull the basting stitching so that you create gathers at the top of the apron body. You're going to want to reduce the size of the top of the apron by about 45%. So in this case, the apron was 13 inches wide, and I brought it down to about 7 inches. After you have reduced the size of the top of the apron by pulling the basting stitching, again, about 3/8 of an inch from the top of the raw edge, you're going to straight stitch those gathers in place. Next up is making the waistband. You are going to take both waistband pieces and iron in about 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of one of the long edges. You're going to do this on both pieces so that both pieces have one of the raw edges ironed in towards the waistband. Once you have all that ironing done, you're going to place the right sides together so the ironed in hem is facing out on both sides, and pin those two pieces together along the short ends and the raw and the long end that has been left raw. Long side that's been left raw. Stitch with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, both short sides closed and the long raw edge closed. Make sure to clip the corners so that it's easier to turn inside out. Turn inside out and iron flat. This is going to give you a really nice crisp waistband that you can then insert the apron body into to hide the raw edge of the top of the apron. So you're going to place the apron body midway down the waistband. On the digital pattern, there are notches to match on the waistband and the apron body. I don't have notches because I didn't make them on my paper pattern, but they're there on the digital pattern. So if you have the digital pattern, match the notches so you're matching centers, and pin the apron body inside in between the two different sides of the waistband. And you're going to want to pin the apron body about a 1/2 inch into the waistband so that the waistband covers the top 1/2 inch of the apron body. Once that's all pinned into place, pin the open edges of the waistband closed, and then sew that open edge closed. So basically top stitch that waistband closed along the open edge. And at that point, you have installed the apron body into the waistband. The last step is, if you'd like to, you can top stitch around the rest of the waistband. You don't have to do this, I did. And there you have it. You have a really cute little frilly apron all done. In total, this whole project from patterning to done took me approximately 2 hours. If you're not patterning this, it should take you about an hour, hour and a half. So it's a nice, quick, little fun project. And there you have it. A cute little apron. Again, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.